I drove my sister's friend home. She smiled. "You can come upstairs." The first thing Maya said when I pulled up outside her house was, "Thanks for the ride." The second thing was a smile. And the third thing nearly made me forget how to breathe. "You can come upstairs," she said. I looked at her through the windshield. "Upstairs?" She laughed softly. "Relax, I'm not kidnapping you." I wasn't worried about that. You looked worried. "I'm trying to figure out why my sister's best friend is inviting me into her house at midnight." Maya leaned closer to the open car window. "Maybe I don't want you to leave yet." That sentence stayed in my head long after she walked through her front door. Maya had been my sister's Emma's friend for years. We were both adults, but somehow I had always kept a respectful distance from her. She was the kind of woman who could walk into a room and immediately make everyone notice her, not because she demanded attention, but because she carried herself with quiet confidence. Tonight, she'd come to Emma's birthday dinner. I'd volunteered to drive her home when the evening ended. It was supposed to be simple. Instead, I found myself sitting outside her house, wondering if I had completely misunderstood her. Finally, I turned off the engine and followed her inside. The house was quiet and warmly lit. Maya kicked off her shoes near the stairs and looked back at me. "You actually came. You invited me. I wasn't sure you would. Why wouldn't I?" She shrugged. "Because of Emma." I frowned. "What about Emma?" Maya smiled, but there was something nervous behind it. "She notices everything." I laughed. "That's true, and she has opinions. That is even more true." Maya walked toward the kitchen. "Coffee at midnight, then tea. You're very determined." She turned around. "Maybe I am." I followed her into the kitchen. For a few minutes, we talked about harmless things: Emma's birthday, work, old memories, embarrassing stories from college. But eventually, the conversation became quieter. Maya leaned against the counter. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why have you always avoided me?" I blinked. "I haven't." "You have. I've talked to you plenty of times." "Exactly. Plenty of times, but never for more than 5 minutes." I didn't know what to say. She continued, "You're always polite, always friendly, but the second we get too comfortable, you find an excuse to disappear." I looked down at my coffee. Maybe I was trying to be respectful. Respectful? You're Emma's best friend, and I didn't want to make things complicated. Maya stared at me for several seconds. Then she smiled. "That's interesting." "What?" "Because I thought you were avoiding me because you weren't interested." I looked up. That was never the reason. Her expression changed. For the first time that night, neither of us joked. "So you were interested?" she asked. I took a slow breath. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." She smiled. I laughed nervously. "You're dangerous." "No, I'm honest." She stepped a little closer. "I've actually wanted to talk to you for a long time." "Why didn't you?" "Same reason." "Emma! Emma!" We both laughed. Then Maya's phone buzzed. She looked at it and groaned. "Speaking of Emma." I raised an eyebrow. "What did she say?" Maya showed me the screen. "Emma, did you get home safely?" I smiled. "Tell her yes." Maya typed something. Then she looked at me. "Should I tell her you're here?" I froze. She laughed. "I'm joking. Don't do that. You should have seen your face." She put the phone away. The atmosphere suddenly felt lighter, but neither of us moved away. Maya looked toward the staircase. "Come upstairs." I stared at her. She smiled. "I'm showing you something." That sentence sounds suspicious only because you're imagining something suspicious. I wasn't. You were. She walked up the stairs. I followed. At the top was a small balcony overlooking the living room. Maya opened the door and stepped outside. The city was quiet beneath us. She rested her arms on the railing. "I come up here when I need to think." "About what?" "Life." "That sounds serious." She looked at me. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm waiting for something that isn't going to happen." I knew exactly what she meant. "Maybe you're waiting for the wrong thing." Maybe. She turned toward me. Or maybe I'm waiting for the right person to stop being afraid. I couldn't help smiling. Maya. I know. She looked away. I shouldn't make this complicated. It already is. She laughed quietly. Then she said something I hadn't expected. I don't want to be your sister's friend tonight. I stared at her. I want to be Maya. Those words changed everything. I stepped closer. And I don't want to be Emma's brother tonight. She smiled. Then who are you? Someone who has wanted to tell you the truth for a long time. Her eyes softened. What truth? Then I noticed, you two. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she reached for my hand. She didn't pull me closer, she simply held it, and somehow that felt more meaningful than anything else could have. I was hoping you'd say that, she whispered. I smiled. What happens now? She looked toward the city lights. Now? She squeezed my hand. Now we stop pretending this isn't happening. We stayed there talking until almost 2 in the morning. There was no dramatic kiss, no reckless decision, just two people finally admitting something they'd both been too careful to say. When I finally reached the stairs, Maya followed me. At the bottom, she stopped. Thank you for coming upstairs. I smiled. Thank you for inviting me. She looked at me for a second. Tomorrow, Emma's going to ask why you stayed so long. What should I tell her? Maya grinned. Tell her the truth. And what's the truth? She stepped closer and whispered that you finally stopped avoiding me. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Emma. Hey, she said suspiciously. Why were you at Maya's house until 2 in the morning? I looked across the room. Maya was sitting on her couch, smiling. I took a breath. Because your best friend wanted to talk. There was silence. Then Emma sighed. Oh no. What? I knew this would happen. I laughed. You knew? Please, I've known for years. I looked at Maya. She covered her face, laughing. Emma continued. Just promise me one thing. What? Don't make it weird. I smiled. I think we're already past that. And for the first time, Maya didn't look like my sister's best friend. She looked like someone who might become something much more important in my life. And strangely enough, all it took was one late-night drive home and one invitation upstairs.